morning, folks. Jim Giacchetta here. Today we're going to talk about a really cool technology. It's called Brevity, super accelerated file transfer transcoding platform. So what I was saying is, why do we need an accelerator? So we're looking for something better than FTP, something more reliable, more persistent, optimized for large files, specifically video files, and we need the ability to send to multiple destinations simultaneously in parallel. The traditional workflow for collaboration is more of a linear function as opposed to a parallel or nonlinear. So that saves time. And we need a solution that will go through the public internet, private or public IP networks. So what is Brevity? So, it's an accelerated file transfer. So one of the methods that it does this, it achieves this acceleration, is it will compress the file or make the file stream more efficient for transport while simultaneously transcoding it. This is done through high-end GPU graphical processing units, breakthrough video optimization, patented technology. Just because it's patented and groundbreaking doesn't mean it has to be complicated. The interface, you drag and drop your files where you want them to go. You set up profiles of what format or video format or protocol each location desires, so there's presets. And we do it in a nonlinear or parallel or overlapping workflow as opposed to a linear workflow. First you send the file, then you transcode it. We're doing things in parallel, we're overlapping, we're doing it nonlinearly. So what is at the heart of this technology? It's the Brevity image warp algorithm. So basically we're using, there's software behind it, but we're using graphical processing units. We're using hardware. So that improves the speed, the efficiency of our file acceleration and our transcoding. So if we're dealing with a native uncompressed file, we can get 30 times file transfer acceleration. If a file is already compressed, we lose the efficiencies of compressing the uncompressed file, so it's 2 to 10 times the compressed versus other compressed formats. So again, there we have a list of all the formats we support. Just about every format is there. Whether it's broadcast formats, production formats, they're all there. So it really depends on the format of the originating content, the source content, and then the desired format at the destination. So anywhere from 2 times to 30 times speed gain in transporting the file. Brevity also has a data warp. What this is, it's just really looking at it at a file-based, whether it's video or just raw data. It's a mathematically lossless transport and acceleration. So mathematically lossless basically says that we're not compressing the data or the payload. We're just, removing blank sections, redundant sections. So whatever bits come into the system, the same bits come out. We just remove some of the inefficiencies in the payload during transmission. So, this is beneficial with higher bit rate files, really, really large files, high bit rate files. Then if we have uncompressed content, raw content, we can handle that as well. And the Brevity raw warp engine kicks in. So we're not just blindly transferring generic files. We're looking at the files, we're analyzing the files. Since the system is geared around video, it understands the structure of every file format, and it compresses that transports it losslessly through the system, and then gives you back the file you originated with or the transcoded file that you desire. So there's a lot of technology going on in the background. So basically, what is the purpose? It's to move content, our source content or our compressed content, our source, our raw content from the camera, or some mezzanine compressed content that we need to collaborate with colleagues in different locations or in different continents around the world. And the system saves you time because the file arrives in the encoded format you desire at your particular location or at the destination location. So how do we do this? Basically, the person coordinating, or the quality control person, or the media coordinator is the one dispatching and administering the system. The people in the remote locations, all they need to do is to download a very simple small application. It's available for Windows, Mac, or Linux. And once you have this app, you can seamlessly send and receive video assets. There's security. It's quick. You can do it on the desktop, a laptop, and it gives you all the speed, acceleration, and the transcoding capabilities. Obviously, if you have a major facility in New York and London, and you're moving big files back and forth, you might want to have more processing power at those two locations. But basically, when you engage with Vidovation and the Brevity team, we analyze your particular application and we design the system around your needs. So we'll put hardware at bottlenecks in your workflow, whether it's in your facility or in different facilities around the world. So we'll help you make those decisions. The platform itself, when a client connects to the platform, it gives you a persistent connection. FTP, we've all used those, and the connection times out. You try to move a big file, take a break for lunch, or do it overnight. You come in and you see the file failed, and nobody noticed it. Brevity will continually persist the connection till the file gets through. You can do scheduled delivery. So if you have off-peak hours, you don't want to congest your network during business hours, and it's not mission critical that a file get there immediately, you can push big files in the middle of the night when there's a cheaper bandwidth might be available or less network congestion. Or you can set it up when Brevity will watch a certain folder, and if a new file appears in that folder, boom, the protocol says any file that appears in this folder needs to be replicated in our London office, and the video file is transported and transcoded as necessary. There's no complex licensing, no bandwidth restrictions. The client is easily distributed to everyone. The administrator of the system knows who has access. Everything is secure. There's credentials. So the system is safe, secure, easy to deploy, and there's minimal risk of someone hacking into the system and getting your media or your intellectual property. So for some of the lower-end applications, we're using off-the-shelf, small form factor, Dell appliances. All these appliances have a GPU, an NVIDIA high-end graphical processing unit. We have this small, you can see it in the picture here, small portable units. For the enterprise, we'd have more of a server, probably multiple GPUs to have more ingest and transcoding and transport capability. But this could work in a satellite office, or someone on the road could have a small appliance like this with the Brevity software pre-installed and do accelerated file transfer and transcoding on the fly. So the hardware needs at least one GPU, and we can scale to many GPUs. You really need an additional GPU for every simultaneous ingest. So if you're ingesting or need to transcode multiple streams, you're going to need a GPU per stream. So, if you're at a major film studio and you're the director of media distribution and coordination and quality control, you're probably going to have a heavy-duty server in your facility in order to facilitate multiple transfers to multiple locations. If you have a major facility in New York and London, you're probably going to want to have an enterprise appliance there as well with multiple GPUs to send files back. A director working from home or looking at dailies in a remote location can use his own personal computer or use the more portable computer GPU appliance. So basically, we'll design the system for your given needs. So a lot of clients want to do this in the cloud. They're like, well, I don't want to manage the GPU server hardware. I'd prefer to do it in the cloud, and we help clients do that every day. The systems are scalable, so if you deploy a simple appliance with 1 or 2 GPUs today, you can add additional hardware, additional appliances, and they automatically cluster together. They increase performance, and they give you redundancy and fail-safe capabilities. So they all mesh together and cluster together to give you the combined horsepower that you need to transport and transcode your files. So this is more of on the enterprise side what the Brevity engine needs, and you can see here some pretty heavy-duty computer processing power, and then you see here a minimum of 1 NVIDIA GPU, but the recommendation is at least 2 GPUs, and we can scale up from here. We can build bigger systems as needed for your applications. So in traditional workflow, it's serial or linear. So one process has to finish before the next process can start. So here's a typical scenario. An editor pushes from his edit bay a file he's completed to an encoder to create a mezzanine file, some sort of a compressed file. Then that mezzanine file has to be transferred to a storage pool for collaboration and uploaded to a cloud system for processing. So each step has to happen one at a time. You gotta encode it into mezzanine. You gotta upload it so you can collaborate. Then the cloud system maybe has an automated mechanism to transfer files to syndications. But each one of these steps, 3 or 4 steps, happens individually and one after the other. So that's the traditional way. That's the traditional workflow right now. So where we're turning things on their head is we can take the content from the source, from the camera, from the asset manager, from the edit bay, and automatically coordinate or pre-program the conversion and the delivery in parallel. So it's more of a parallel or overlapping process, which greatly improves your workflow. We can better forecast when a job is going to arrive. So in New York, they're like, okay, I need the latest files. When can I expect them? You know it's so many gigabytes or terabytes. You can predict when you start sending the package to New York how long it's going to take to get there. And then when it does get there, it's ready to use because it's in the correct format. It's been transcoded. It's ready to go. You can schedule a number of simultaneous queues. So we could have a group of files going to our New York facility, a group of files going to our London, another group going to Hong Kong with preset profiles. So you don't even the coordinator doesn't even have to think about it. He knows that Hong Kong, when I send him assets, he needs ProRes. New York, when they need assets, they need another format, and that's all programmed. If you're at different stages of production, maybe different file formats are needed. And again, you can have formats and profiles accordingly set to do all of this. The big thing about Brevity is we remove the delay-causing bottlenecks. We automate the process. The coordinator doesn't have to think about, okay, what file format does New York need at this point in the production? It's already programmed into the system. It's ready to go. And it's all highly intuitive. You can see if a file went through. The system will email the recipient when the file is being sent, and another email when it's there, when it's arrived, is ready to use. So everyone in the process knows where the files are. They get statuses as to what's happening. So typically, a typical engagement, we have typical configurations, popular configurations. So it makes it easy to deploy, a turnkey typical configuration. But most of our clients need some customization. So we do a lot of testing. We'll ask you for samples of your files, what your source content, what your transcoded destination content. And we'll make sure we have the right hardware in place, the right number of GPUs, the right horsepower to support the transport that fits your workflow. We can customize to do one-to-many broadcasts, to hit many broadcast centers. It's common with news bureaus. A produced story comes out of network and needs to be pushed to affiliates, so it gets pushed out through a Brevity system, file acceleration system to all the affiliates, so they have the story ready for the 6 o'clock news. You might have remote users, remote reporters, remote production people, even collaboration within the Hollywood studios. You don't have to get a messenger or a courier to send a hard drive down the street. The file is there instantly when people need it. It just simplifies and accelerates the workflow. We have clients that have multiple data centers. They want, for reliability, redundancy, to have files replicated across the country, across the globe in different data centers. So whatever your ideal workflow is, we can build a system to support that or accelerate that. So you can see here, here's an example of ProRes files coming from New York, 1080p, 30 frames per second. England needs an H.264 proxy, 1080i 30. Then Germany needs something slightly different. Then Hong Kong needs something different. And you can see the originator, the coordinator controls all of this, and it's all preset. And he just virtually click of one button or dragging of one file, the transfer happens. So it's very automated. So how does Brevity get this speed benefit? So we're using efficient transfer protocols, patented proprietary efficient transfer, but we get our big gain by transcoding. And typically a transcoding, it's typically not done in real time. It's either half real time or quarter real time, and that depends on your processing power. It also depends on the file format you're starting with and how compressed the destination or the output file needs to be. But typically it's half or 1/4 real time. So Brevity transcodes during delivery, but it's the total time of transport and transcode is whichever is the longest. So in other words, Brevity starts transcoding a file. The transcoding is taking longer than the transfer pipe time. The pipe's got to wait till the transcoding. So the transcoding in that scenario is the weakest link. If something needs to be lightly transcoded, not a lot of processing power, and it does it faster than the pipe can handle, the pipe is the weakest denominator. So the propagation is the maximum of the delivery or the transcoding, where a traditional system, it's a combination of both. You either have to transcode first and then send, or transfer and then transcode at the end. So it's a combination of both the transcoding and the transport. So it's basically the weakest link. Whichever one takes longer is going to be your overall transcode transport speed. So that, just want to make that clear. So it's the whatever process takes longer. The transcoding takes longer, or the delivery takes longer. But it's not the combination of both. It's one or the other, as opposed to and. So transcoding speed, transport speed, this optimization of your queue and working in parallel, lets you do further syndication of files. So you might be moving source content from New York to LA, but then you need to syndicate into Asia. We can make that all happen automatically. And we do it in as much as we can, we do in parallel, or at least we overlap these processes, as opposed to doing it in a linear or a one-at-a-time fashion. So, here's the million-dollar question. How do I know if Brevity supports all the file, the video, audio, codec, for broadcast, for production? How do I know if they support them all? There's too many of them to list. There's a link on our website, in the Brevity section of our website, but I haven't found one that isn't supported. If you do see something missing from the list, we're always adding something every day, and if there is something missing from the list, I'm sure we can accommodate your needs. But all of your transcoding, codecs, encoding, decoding, and transcoding codecs should be available to you. So here's a interesting slide. So you might see some familiar names here. I saw a presentation recently from Aspera. They got purchased by IBM. Aspera is probably one of the leaders out there right now. But you can see here, no one besides Brevity does transcoding during file transfer. So if you want to save time, we feel our transfer protocol is one of the fastest. So even if you don't need the transcoding capability, you feel you don't need that, it's in there. It's an added bonus. No one else supports that. We also are the only ones that can, from an origination point, send to multiple destinations simultaneously. You'd have to set up a batch. First send it to New York, then send it to Hong Kong, then send it to LA, where we do that all in parallel. And we optimize the transport compression. Now this is not, we're not messing with the payload. We're just, it's kind of like a zip file. Even a compressed video file, there is some repetitiveness in the data, blank spaces. For lack of a better description, we're taking out all the air in the transport stream. So we compress the stream. That's how we gain acceleration. So we save time transcoding. We optimize the transmission stream or the transport stream. And we also do local transcoding. Other players do that as well. So, obviously we're all file accelerator people, but you can see some of these units do not do transfer acceleration. And we support all the production and the broadcast formats. Others do as well. We watch folders to send, if a folder receives a new file, we can automate the transfer. And, we use off-the-shelf hardware, nothing proprietary. And persistent storage and connection. We can connect to your storage persistently. If someone's in a remote location and the internet connection is a little flaky, we can reestablish connection, persist that connection. And we can collaborate on project-based. So having these presets of what file formats each location needs for our workflow helps us to better collaborate, helps with confusion, remembering that LA needs a format, needs a ProRes, and New York needs an H.264 high profile. We don't have to worry about all of that. So here's an important slide. So here's more of the traditional way of transferring a file. So we have an hour's worth of content. We have a 50 megabit per second internet or telecom connection, and we need to transcode into DNX HD 145. So you can see here, using other accelerated transport devices out there or systems out there, it's going to take an hour and 25 minutes to push this file through. Then to transcode, it's going to take another 2 hours and 19 minutes. Brevity combines both of these processes and to a little over an hour. So you can see the huge savings there. The originating content was in Canon 7D. So we did Canon 7D to DNX HD 145. So you can see it does depend on your source content. Look at DNX HD 220. Takes a lot longer to transfer that. Transcoding not so much, because we're in a similar format, just going from 220 to 145. But look at Brevity; it chops down. Most of the gain there is in the transport, but takes what is that? That looks like about 5 hours, a little under 5 hours to a little under 2 hours. You see that enormous gain. Then over here, going from a ProRes, this is a higher bit rate type file, 4 hours of transport. Look at all that transcoding time, 2 hours and 18 minutes. We get the whole thing done in less than an hour and a half. So we take 6.5 hours, almost 6.5 hours, and get it down to an hour and a half. So it depends on what you're starting with and what your destination requires as a format. So there's a million of different variables, but I think you get the idea. We're going to save you time in your workflow when you're collaborating, distributing, doing quality control, coordinating your media assets. I think there's no doubt Brevity is going to save you some time. So here we have a little snapshot. There's a lot here on this page. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but you can see here you can get started with Brevity for as little as $99 a month. We have custom solutions where you can call for a quote, but if you have a sizable system, 50 users, Mac and PC engines, Brevity engines, can do 8 concurrent workflows. This would be like a major studio here. One of the major studios here in Hollywood would use a system like this. The director of quality control and media distribution, he can have 50 remote users. Setup fee, this is mostly for the hardware, and you see you get a quarter time transcoding. So and you see here all the codecs are supported, but you can start out small and work your way this way, work your way up. So the entry, the buy-in, or it's a pretty low bar, pretty low cost of entry to get started with Brevity. And the Vidovation team and our friends at All Digital, the Brevity team, will help you with this. The guys over at All Digital, we share our passion for hockey. We both work for the National Hockey League. We have a similar client base, so we're very collaborative with our extended team over at Brevity. You can see here too that there is a little bit of fine print. These systems will support 100 megabits per second of transport. It's the 95, the 95th and 5th percentile, and 200 gigabytes of storage. There are additional fees for more storage, less than 10 cents a gigabyte and less than $3 per megabyte. But most people don't need more than this, or their pipes are not bigger than 100 megs, so it doesn't really matter. And again, you know, we work with all of our clients. If your needs are a little unique, you want a different costing model, or if you want a model where you want to do CapEx expenditure, we can, you know, charge you for the hardware up front and then less recurring cost. Most organizations prefer the OpEx, the monthly type billing, but every organization is different. So we have the flexibility to work with you either way, but this is usually the preferred model, the OpEx or the monthly fee model. We have a little ROI calculator on the website, and you can see here you can punch in the size of your file. So I have a 500 gig file. My upload speed is about 100 megs. My file is about 60 minutes or an hour long, and I need to 5 transcodes from upload. So I have 5 files. So you can see without Brevity, it's 1,100 minutes, and with Brevity, it's you know, less than 260 minutes. So there's a 400% improvement. If we click on this, let me see. Oh, I turn my pointer. Well, I'm not going to show you the. I'll send you guys a link to the PowerPoint when we publish it online. We'll have a link to this ROI calculator, so you can kind of play with it. You know, your different file sizes to see the gains. But this is pretty typical. Obviously, if you move these sliders up, have a bigger file, need more transcodes, that the savings is exponential. You'll save even more the more processing you need to do. So here's a little case study, a typical scenario. So studio in LA, you have a post-production facility in New York. The map's a little bit funky here in the background. We have Los Angeles in Baja California, down in the Gulf of Mexico, in Baja Gulf of Mexico, and New York's out in the Bermuda Triangle. But I think you guys get the idea. We're sending a ProRes 4444 file to New York. They also want 3 additional formats. So you can see here, they wanted the native ProRes, they wanted a DNX HD220 and a 100. So we were able to do that all in a seamless push. So you can see here, Studio creates profile, then the producer has a profile already preset, and then we send the file, and this happens automatically. And then the Brevity algorithm transcodes the different formats while transferring the file. Then someone in Atlanta wants to see the file. Someone, the producer is maybe he's scouting out, doing location scouting, and he wants to see the copy of the file. So he fires up his notebook computer, and he can get an H.264, you know, just for you know, a lower bit rate, smaller file that he can play on his computer, his notebook, so he can see what's going on, see the dailies of what's being pushed from LA. Then someone in Dallas is shooting some B-roll in a Canon D7 format, 1080p, and then that gets pushed back to Los Angeles, back to the coordinator, and it gets dumped into the project folder. And because we have automatic triggers, this file automatically gets pushed to New York, gets pushed to the producer in Atlanta, and these resolutions of the new content are automatically appear in the New York folder. So every piece of content that is pushed into the project folder, everyone associated gets that file in one, or in this case, multiple resolutions for their workflow at that location. And it all happens automatically. The old school approach, or using other file accelerators, the coordinator here is going to have a very busy afternoon. He's going to have to get an email or a phone call from the producer in Atlanta. Can you send me the file? Then he doesn't remember, well, what device, sir, are you using to look at this today? Oh, I forgot. You want an H.264. He pushes it to them. Then the guys in Dallas start pushing him a file. Then he's got to remember to push it out to New York and back to this producer. With Brevity, this all happens automatically. Second, the content, it's all set up. It's all automated. All the coordinator is doing is looking at his admin screen and seeing the file status, seeing when the files will get there, just looking for hiccups in the system, as opposed to being engrossed and bogged down with the workflow of moving the files. So, here are some adopters of the technology. This is a quote from NBC Olympics. It says, knocks everyone else out of the park. There's a quote from one of the execs working with CBS Sports, Cox Media Group, Deluxe, and there's more. We're adding more every day. So in conclusion, I don't want to be too redundant, but, what is Brevity? It's a super accelerated file transfer. We have some of the industry's fastest transfer acceleration. We're going to beat the competition head-to-head just moving the file. Then when you add the unique patented technology of transcoding while transferring, no one can touch us. We're the only ones that are doing this. And this is all done in a single process. We can deliver the content anywhere in any format to multiple destinations simultaneously, seamlessly. Your workflow simplification, no one can touch it. And the pricing model is untouchable. A lot of these other systems have a high entry cost, a high barrier to implementing the system. Starting at $99 a month, that's a bargain. No one can touch that. And it's all based on Brevity's patented technology, multi-pipeline, multi-point transport protocol. I dare you to say that fast. And it's a no-brainer. If you're a media company, if you're a broadcaster, a sports league, a sports team, anyone that has large media files, large media assets that you need to move around, Brevity is the system of choice for you. We look forward to hearing from you, whatever your unique workflow needs might be in the area of file-based delivery. We'd love to hear from you. We'd like to help you help solve your problems. We're going to ask you a lot of questions about your workflow, and we hope that you're willing to share with us. The more you share with us, the more we learn about your specific needs, your specific workflow, the better we can serve you. And I'm sure you guys will have questions for us, so it's a two-way street. So if we come to the table with open books, we can optimize your workflow and save hours or days in your production time. So, for those of you who don't know who Vidovation is, who is Vidovation? We're a video, audio, and data communications manufacturer and provider. We service broadcast, TV networks, sports leagues, corporations, film studios, enterprise, IT departments, state and government and DoD type agencies. And who do we help? Where do we have the most impact? It's clients that are frustrated. You're frustrated with dropouts for your wireless video communications. You're confused what technology to pick for your different applications, whether it's live video transmission or file-based delivery like we're discussing today. If you're working with encoders, there's always the trade-off, struggling with latency versus budget. Low latency encoders are usually more expensive, and we can help you balance those types of decisions. We help clients that are irritated with interruptions in video streaming through the internet. We have systems like Zixi that will allow you to stream HD video through the public internet very reliably. That was last month's webinar. So if you or anyone you know struggles with any of these issues, anyone needing to move large files around, transcoding files, we'd love to help you. A big part of our business is based on referrals, so we'd love to get referrals from you. Or be sure to visit us at NAB. We're going to be in booth C 1113 near GoPro in the Central Hall, the front of Central Hall. So we hope to have some of these Brevity appliances on display for you to take a look at. So here's a long list of some of the clients we've worked with over the years. I'm not going to read this to you. You can check this out later. It's on our website. And then that leaves us with any Q&A.